Hi everybody, today we're going to be talking about magic mushrooms, also known as flesh of the gods, mana, and yeah, liberty cats or mushies. They've got loads of different names and different genuses, and they're all psilocybin containing mushrooms. I'm going to talk about my first ever experiences with them. I did first ever experience was at the age of 13. I accidentally ate a magic mushroom pie which was sitting in the oven. Luckily and unluckily nothing happened. Uh, but then my proper first experience was at the age of 14. I was like with a couple of my mates, we were sitting at, my two best friends I'd say, were sitting out in the garden, and it was a heat wave time at that time, and I'm a gardener personally. I love gardening, I love plants, I love being around them. At that time I wasn't looking after the garden, and I remember we were just sitting there and we'd eating these mushrooms that we bought from a shop. This is when it was legal here in England, and yeah, we're just sitting there and nothing's happening, and everyone's just like, oh, nothing's happening, Cam, nothing's happening. And I was like, I've seen people trip on these things and it's quite amazing, and let's not underestimate it, yeah. I've done a little research. I've never taken anything in my life without research except for salvia. And anyway, so we're sitting there and we're just chatting away, and my mate said something really funny, and I remember we started laughing and we stood up. We were sitting by the pond and we started walking around the pond, walking around the garden, and we're just laughing our heads off like crazy people. It was amazing, it was really fun. And as we're laughing away, I look over towards like some set trees, and there was a face in the tree. And I saw this face in the tree, and it started talking to me telepathically, and it was like, look around, only you can save them, basically. And I was like looking around, I was looking at all the plants, and I started to notice that, oh shit, the plants are all drying out. They're drying out, the soil's really dry, that they're going to die basically. And he was like, only you can save them, sort of thing. And I was like, fuck man, only I can save them, I need to save them. So I ran over to the hose pipe, turned that on, and my mates were like, Cam, what are you doing? And I was like, I've got to do this, I've got to water the plants, I've got to help them. So I went around with the hose pipe, gave them all plenty of water, watered everything, and I looked back at, I put the hose pipe away, and as I'm watering them, this girl, because we was having a house party, which was just, it was just coming up basically, everyone was just coming, and this girl popped out and she's like, oh, do you guys want some Doritos? And she came out, and yeah, it was like, yeah, so we had some Doritos. Out in the States they're called tortilla chips or whatever. So sitting there, I'm watering the plants, my mate's just shoving crisps down my mouth for me, and look back up at the tree when I've done watering them, and it's just smiling at me. This face is just smiling at me, and I've never seen this face before. I know nothing about this face, I know nothing about this. I've never heard of like these sort of things. After the trip I did a whole load of research, and because I was so intrigued by what this thing was that I was interacting with, and I discovered basically that this is something to do with the pagan religion, you know, and this is something called the Green Man. And I saw an image of the Green Man, and I was like, wow, that's the exact same thing that I saw. I saw this thing, and when I understood what it stood for as well, that was very amazing for me as well. It was quite profound, and what it was a deity of, and what it was telling me to do, you know, and so it was really profound for me, and it's also helped me find more about myself and my duty, really. But that's another story altogether. I'll carry on with my story, the mushroom story. And anyway, so after all the garden, we all went inside, we sat out in the front room. It was in the living room, we was all sitting laying on the sofas, just chatting away. And my friend, one of my friends went into a trance. He lost himself within the crystal balls of the chandelier. So the chandelier with the crystal balls, and he was in a dimension of reflection of light and rainbows and crazy shit. So he was in a completely different world. That's his own story. I ain't gonna emphasise on it. I ain't gonna talk about it really. He can talk about it if he wants. And my other mate, he was having his own trip, and it was joint really as well. But anyway, we went out into the kitchen after, and the people still coming to the house, and they're all sitting in another room, sessioning it up, drinking up and that. I don't think they smoke weed or anything like that. They didn't do anything else. They're just drinkers and cigarette smokers. And so we went out into the kitchen, and we had a PC there, and I remember we turned on some music, we're sitting there listening to Pink Floyd, Comfortably Numb, and again we're just talking, and I remember while talking, my tongue just became comfortably numb from listening. I don't know if it had to do with the song and the mushrooms combination, whatever it was. I couldn't talk properly, and so I stopped talking, and we found it funny as well. We kept laughing and stopped talking, and one of the friends, he went to the toilet, so he left the room, and my other friend, I thought he was staring at me. I started getting a little paranoid. I think, what's he staring at? Why does he keep looking at me? And so I asked him, what the fuck are you looking at? And he's like, I'm not looking at you. He goes, come here real quick. And he didn't tell me what he's looking at or anything. I stepped away. I jumped off of the what's it called? The counter, the kitchen counter, and I stepped away from the cupboards and that, and I had a look at what he's looking at in the direction. And as soon as I turned around, I saw a black hole in the wall. There was like a black hole basically. It looked like a portal to like some, I don't know what was on the other side. It was just a black portal basically, and it just opened up, and I thought, that's strange. That's not usually there. And started staring at it as well. And he's like, yeah, you can see it, can't you? Innit? And I was like, yeah, I can see this black portal thing. And he's like, yeah, that's what I was looking at. And he was like, that was right behind you, sort of thing. And I was like, the fuck, sort of thing, innit? So we stood there and we're talking and we're debating what this portal is, where it leads, what could happen, you know. And we're just trying to make a bit of sense out of it. We didn't try to like let's go inside it or anything, because we thought, you know, it's unknown beyond that portal, what is on the other side of that. But it really had depth to it, and it wasn't like just something that we're just tripping out seeing. There was an actual black hole in the wall basically, big enough for us to probably just about squeeze into basically. And we stood there debating what it could be. If we climb through, are we just going to keep on falling into blackness? Is it just going to be darkness? Are we just going to float off into space? What's going to happen? Who knows? Maybe we end up in a completely different multiverse. But so we were sitting there talking about these amazing, we was having an amazing conversation anyway. It was a good conversation starter. Anyway, just then, our third friend, who was in the bathroom, he just walked into the kitchen, and he's immediately seen what we're seeing, and he's like, what the fuck is that? Where's that come from? So he's come and joined us now, and now the three of us are discussing what it was. And just as we're like about to walk up towards it, like someone else, that same girl who brought the Doritos out to us in the garden, she's come into the kitchen, and she's like, she said something, I don't remember what she said now. She started talking to us, and it started to close up. It did, and it closed, and that was that really. And then after a while, another one of our friends, he came and joined us, and he was like, he wasn't high at all. He doesn't smoke weed. He doesn't do anything. He'll drink once in a while, sort of thing. But he was completely sober, and he came, and we were on this really trippy sort of trip basically. We were tripping out. Everything was trippy, and he was like completely sober, so he had no idea like about what we was talking about. You know, so if we're seeing things or the way we're experiencing the world in the state that we was in, he wouldn't understand any of the things that we were talking about. He could try it, but he didn't want to try it. He's actually a funny guy. So anyway, we're sitting there, and he's come over, and we went out into the garden, and we was like, let's play a game of pool on the portable pool table. And he's just trying to be trippy. He knows we're on mushrooms, and he's trying to be trippy, like woo, doing all these hand things and just talking, and he's trying to like make us trip or make us laugh and stuff, but it's more annoying than anything else, you know. It's like the whole stereotypical crap, like, oh, did you see that dragon over there? Did you see that? And it's just like, you know, it was more annoying than anything else. And so after a while, we just told him to shut the fuck up basically, and just chill. And anyway, one of the friends who was tripping, he had to go home. So he's gone, and we've set him off on his bike, and he didn't have to go too far, and he made it home. And then he had his own personal trip in his bedroom, staring at Windows media players, visualizations. But that was his own personal trip. Then our other friend, the non-high one, he had to go as well, so he left. Excuse me. And then it was just two of us left now. So it was time for us to get freaky. And we went up to my room, and we had a few more mushrooms left over, ate them, came back down, rolled a joint, and it started to get darker now, and so we started a little fire in the garden and stuff, and we were just chilling out. And we looked up at the stars, and I just remember just sitting out there, and the party was live now, there's loads of people over, and I remember just talking to a bunch of people in the garden while smoking a joint, while they're smoking cigarettes and drunk, and we're tripping and really high, and we're sitting there and I had my guitar in my hand and I was playing away and looking up at the stars and stuff, and it was really tripping. It was like something from, just felt like something really tribal about it, something really, like, really, how could I say it, really natural and organic about it. It was something really amazing, and yeah, it's just an amazing thing. Magic mushrooms are an amazing thing. And that was the entire trip for the day really. We just tripped and tripped, and then it started calming down, and we were stoned at that time, and eventually we just went to bed, and that was the whole trip. And that was our first ever trip with mushroom. And I found it to be really amazing that I'm seeing all these things, and and a lot of people talk about how the trip is only in your head and how your brain creates all these things. But I think once you do try this, when you do try psilocybin mushrooms, I think it's quite questionable what modern science, modern people even know about anything. That we know jack shit basically on this planet. Yeah, we've created material things and whatever, but to do with consciousness, to do with the invisible world, if anything, I would say, we are only a chrysalis. We're only in this stage of metamorphosis. We don't know jack shit right now. We're still this little caterpillar, and society, I don't think, is allowing us to see these things, or they don't want us to really. I think this is part of it. But anyway, that's another conversation in itself. If you'd like to talk about it, write in the comments. And that's my first ever mushroom story. I'd like to go into a few more stories, but I'll talk about that in another video. If you've got any questions, if you've got your own stories, do put them in the comments below. And I suggest, if you are going to ever try mushrooms, or magic truffles, or anything like that, that you are in a good state of mind. That's the most important thing, is that you are happy at that time. I don't think you should be angry with anybody. Maybe that might subside if you did mushrooms. If you was angry at somebody, maybe you could get over the hate, maybe forgive them, or whatever. But I do suggest that if you are going to try it for your first time, that you're in a good place. You're in a good place in yourself, good place in your mind, that you are happy, and that the people you're going to use it with, if you're doing it alone, that's fine. If you're doing it with other people, that you trust them, that you know them, that they're not some stranger that you just met a few days ago, because it will open you up, and it can be scary if you're there with someone that you don't really know. So it's best that you're with people you love, people you trust, and I would suggest that the first time you ever do it, that you do it at home. You do it at home, in your house, out in the garden if you have to, or if you're out in the forest with a campfire or something like that, and you're going to stay out there for the night. That's also amazing. But I wouldn't suggest doing this out in a club. I think you'll just scare the shit out of yourself. You would give yourself a nightmare. You probably create a nightmare become a nightmare for everybody else there as well. I wouldn't do it at work. I wouldn't do it in public. I wouldn't drive a car. I'd ride a bike on mushrooms. I've done it before. I wouldn't drive a car on mushrooms. I wouldn't want to do anything else. Anywhere where you can endanger other people. I do say this, if you've never tried mushrooms, this is one thing to expect, and most places and cartoons and whatever don't represent it in the correct light. You always see people eat some mushrooms or a psychedelic and they're in some rainbow world and stuff. That is only if you probably left this dimension and went to some rainbow dimension. Every experience I've had, it has only heightened every one of my senses, every one of my 5 senses. My sense of smell has become incredibly powerful. I'm picking up scents from really far away, and my hearing, I could hear the smallest little thing. I could hear loads of little things, and I wasn't hallucinating these things. I remember someone close to me coughed, and I could smell their insides. It was nasty, but I could smell everything. And my sense of sight, I'm actually short-sighted, so I wear these glasses and that. They're not really terrible. I've got pretty good eyesight. It's very minor. It's mainly in this eye here on my right eye. It's a little lazy. And I've seen that every time I do use mushrooms, that my sense of sight is heightened. That this thing that opticians or optometrists will call edge detection. I've seen that edge detection increases, that everything does become more HD, more vivid, the colours are more vibrant, everything is amazing basically. It's as if you've just been repaired. It's as if like the distractions in your mind, the distractions in your life, the distractions in everything is all subsided for a moment so that you can be in the now, so that all of your senses in the now are heightened. It's an amazing thing. I do think it's a medicine if used correctly. I don't think it's a recreational fun thing to do. It is fun as well, but it's more healing than anything else. I think it deserves a lot of respect, and I think if you want to also learn more about it, that you look into people like Paul Stamets, mycologist, and Terence McKenna's talks on these sort of things. They're very profound, and I think it's very interesting. Maybe even listen to a few comedians like Bill Hicks or Joe Rogan or Duncan Trussell. I like Duncan Trussell. And yeah, so that's that. And it's lovely talking. I'll make another video. In the next video I'm going to talk about cannabis, the first ever thing I've ever used. And I hope you enjoy this video, and I hope you enjoy that one too. So peace. I'll let you guys go now. So good night. Peace. Peace.